everybody. I really want to share this recipe because it has really grown my skill set and I freaking love it. So it's a crusty, rustic loaf of bread that you can make in a Dutch oven. So I got a Dutch oven this year and I've made this loaf about 6 or 7 times and it's so amazing. And it's actually really easy. So I wanted to make a video initially for Jesse because he wanted to know how to do it himself. And I said, sure. So now I just want to share it with anybody who loves to cook because it'll make your house smell amazing and it just keeps you coming back for one bite after another. It is really freaking good. Okay, so I'm just going to dive right in. On the screen, you see your mise en place, things you need to put in place to get your area ready. I've already done all that. Now I start by setting my oven to warm, just to create a warm environment for the dough to proof. Fancy word for rise. So I get it warm and then I just shut it off. The parchment paper and the knife, you're not going to need that till later, so just set it aside. All right. I've got all my ingredients out. First thing I do is I start with my water. I always use a thermometer to make sure it's between 100 and 110. If it's over 110, it could kill your yeast, so we don't want that. So I'm going to go ahead and add in my 2 1/4 teaspoons of yeast. I have a half tablespoon of truffle salt. If you're in Cleveland, you can get really good truffle salt at the West Side Market at Urban Herbs. There's other great places where you can get it, but that's where I get mine. And I have just under a tablespoon of sugar so the yeast can eat. Okay. And then before I set this aside, I'm going to put a little bit of truffle oil in it. This is some really good truffle oil that I got at Gallucci's, but Aldi even has a, an inexpensive truffle infused oil, or you can make your own. Guys, confession here, I don't even measure. I just kind of zhuzh it. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. And then I'm going to whisk that in and just set it aside. It's going to get nice and frothy as the yeast starts to activate. I already have my 3 1/4 cups of bread flour. Nothing fancy. I just got some King Arthur from the grocery store. Cool. Okay, so that is in. That was really hard work, so I need a break. Okay. Yeah, so I have my stand mixer here. I'm going to go ahead and fit this on here. Put my dough hook on. Okay, I'm going to just keep it going fairly low and slow, and I'm just going to put my mixture in. And I'm just doing low and slow because I'm kind of scraping down the sides as it's working. So I don't want it to, hurt me. Okay, so I'll let this just do its work for a minute, and then we'll meet up in a moment. Okay, great. So my dough is mixed together. Little flour on your surface here. You know what to do. Just grab it out of there. Just roll it lightly in some flour. Just kind of coating the outside. Because after this rises, then that way it's not going to stick to the inside of the bowl. usually just proof mine right in the KitchenAid stand mixer bowl. So I'm gonna take a second, wash out my stand mixer bowl, and then come right back and we'll get this thing in the oven. Okay, so I just took a step back to wash out my stand mixer bowl. Just giving it a light coat of oil. You rub this bad boy in. And then you're just going to want to cover it and put it in the oven where it's still warm and let that rise for 2 to 2.5 hours covered. You can use a towel, plastic, whatever you have to cover it. I have this cool silicone topper that's airtight. I like this a lot. It's by Charles Vianson. I find it useful. All right, well, anyways, I'll see you back when we're ready to do the next step. All right, so our dough has been rising for 2.5 hours. Looks good. Next step is we want to preheat the Dutch oven itself. So go ahead and preheat your oven to 450 degrees. We're really going to crank that up and then put the Dutch oven inside for about 20 to 30 minutes. That's just going to preheat this before we put the dough in. Quick note, me personally, I keep my house a little bit chilly because I'm the type that's just always hot. So that said, if your house is a little on the colder side, and this is being a little extra, this is just if you're that type of person, what I will do is point a little tiny space heater on low, like at my bread, so that it can like still proof, you know, a little bit while my Dutch oven is preheating. And that is only a special note if you're a little bit extra and if you just happen to like keep your house a little bit cold like me. Anyways, but there's absolutely no need to do that if you're just like a totally normal person. Okay, cool. All right, so 450, crank that oven, get this preheated 20 to 30 minutes, and then we'll get going with actually baking our bread. Okay, our Dutch oven is preheated, so I'm going to go ahead and just pull that out. I uncovered it and I'm just setting it here. This is super hot, so just be careful. All right, I'm going to go ahead and take my dough. All right, I've got my dough here. And I've prepared a floured surface, so I can just go ahead and get a little coating of flour on that. Nice. All right, so I ripped off a rectangle of parchment paper. This is gonna line the Dutch oven. And before we put the dough on it, two things. First thing is we're gonna just flour it a little bit. It's actually gonna bake on the parchment paper. We don't want it to stick. Just kind of like move the flour around and throw the dough right on top of it. Okay. And then I like to put like a nice little design over the top. So if you have a very sharp knife, that is ideal for this part. So I'll give you a quick view of that. Okay, so you can take a super sharp knife and go in and, I don't know, I like to do kind of a pattern that's like a little tree. Cool. Okay. Boom. Like so. It's still super hot, so just be mindful. Tuck the edges. Right on. Okay, so we got it in. From here, just keep your oven at 450, throw it in with the lid on, and we're gonna bake this for 35 minutes. The house smells freaking heavenly. We are in the final stretch of our bread making tutorial. We are just gonna pull it out of the oven, take the lid off, and then just put it in for like 5 more minutes, just to get a little bit of a golden kind of like crust on the outside. So let's take it out and just see what it looks like. Okay, so I left it in for 5 minutes. I checked on it. felt like it needed just a little bit more time. So I left it in for 10, and just aromatically, I can smell that it's done. So it's basically done. I'm gonna pull it out right now and just like put it on a rack, let it cool for a little bit. As you can see, our bread is really beautiful. This smells amazing. Now I've set up an area where I have a wire rack just off to the side that it can cool on. Go ahead and just pick up the parchment paper by the corners and then just walk it over to where you have yourself set up. Just drop it on your wire rack, take the parchment paper out from underneath, and then just let it rest for a few minutes. So usually this is the part where my family attacks the bread like vultures. We love it with some olive oil or a little truffle oil for dipping. Throw some herbs in there. You can throw a little balsamic in there. I love a vegan Parmesan cheese sprinkle. That's great too. It's tasty while it's hot, but it also keeps really well. So thank you for letting me share this process with you. I've really enjoyed doing so, and I hope that this enriches your skill set and empowers you, just knowing like, I can make awesome artisanal bread, that kind that you would go to the store and spend a lot of money on, with just a little bit of know-how and some basic tools. All right, well, thanks for watching. Enjoy.